Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish series stars. Today's video is one of those that goes beyond the usual chatter and becomes a moment fans will remember. We have a development that truly rattled the industry, and I don't say that lightly. You know we live for the stories that invite a second look, the updates that get your heart racing, and the conversations that make our community feel like a living room of friends whispering secrets. What we're breaking down today does exactly that. The headline said it clearly, and now we're going to unpack it together. November 4th, 2025. The bombshell involving Gökberk Yıldırım and Cemre Arda stunned everyone. Yes, you heard right. Two names with stature, two careers carefully built with craft and composure, two public figures who have played the game with grace and guardedness until now. Whether it's fate stirring the pot or a bold decision prepared in silence, what surfaced on that date turned the calm surface into ripples and then waves. So settle in, grab something to sip, and let's walk through what we know, why it matters, and what it could possibly mean. And if you're new to Turkish series stars, consider subscribing and hitting that bell so you never miss the nuances, the context, and the heartfelt debates we host here. Let's start with the date. November 4th, 2025 isn't just a calendar entry. It's a pin on the map for anyone who follows Turkish television and cinema. In the hours following the first notifications, you could almost feel the collective gasp. Timelines lit up, trending lists reshaped themselves, and conversations spilled into group chats. The news touched Gökberk Yıldırım and Cemre Arda, two artists whose work has reached far beyond Turkey, two faces recognized in countries where language barriers collapse in the face of charisma and sincerity. For anyone just arriving to this world or needing a gentle reminder, Gökberk has become a name that directors gravitate toward when they need quiet storm energy, that soulful weight a character can't fake. He's polished but never plastic, disarming in the way he holds a scene. Cemre, in turn, is one of those actresses whose eyes tell a chapter before a line is spoken. She's layered, precise, and brave about slipping into complicated emotions. Together, their performances have created on-screen sparks that fans couldn't stop talking about, sparks that some viewers always wondered might hide something more than craft. That alchemy between them, that felt sense of connection, is exactly why the news hit like a drumbeat. Because what's circulating isn't a throwaway whisper or a flimsy screenshot. This feels considered, weighty, and inescapably important. The way it reached the public, emerging from sources with track records for accuracy, made the impact larger. And in the middle of it all stand two people who have kept their private lives neat and guarded, letting their work speak but rarely breaking that fourth wall. So what is this shocker about? We're being careful with words because some elements are still under wraps, and we want to respect the line between credible reporting and reckless guessing. But what we can say is that it's a turn with a broad horizon, something that touches both the personal and the professional, or collides them in a way that leaves no one indifferent. It's not the kind of rumor that flares up at midnight and disappears by morning. It carries the weight of a plan, of a crossroads, perhaps even of a promise. Part of what fascinates us in moments like this is how our perceptions recalibrate. We spend years watching roles and red carpets, collecting interviews and behind-the-scenes glimpses, and somehow we build narratives about who these people must be. Then a single day arrives, an announcement lands, and the image rearranges itself in seconds. If you feel a rush of curiosity or even a pinch of disquiet, you're not alone. That's what happens when reality takes a turn we didn't script. Cemre has long protected the sanctuary of her offset life, appearing when there was something meaningful to share and choosing silence when there wasn't. Gökberk, the same, measured, respectful, and devoted to craft over spectacle. Which is why anything of this magnitude becomes not just content, but a chapter. And now, we try to place it in context. What could this astonishing twist be? Let's consider the first road. Perhaps they're unveiling a joint project that breaks their old mold, a production that isn't just another drama or film but a leap into creative ownership. Imagine a slate they built themselves, a banner under which they can choose the stories, shape the tone, and bring their chemistry to places that conventional roles haven't allowed. It could be a film that refuses the formula, a limited series designed like a novel, or a cross-platform narrative that bends boundaries between cinema, streaming, and live events. A move like that wouldn't merely be a career step, it would be a statement. Another path is riskier still. Maybe what's coming is a pivot, stepping back from acting, at least for a while, to experiment with directing, writing, or producing. We've seen artists at their peak choose to shift gears because growth sometimes requires leaving the familiar shore. It could also be a turn toward creative activism or a philanthropic endeavor on a grand scale, aligning their public power with personal values. Imagine projects supporting the arts in underserved communities or initiatives focused on mental health in the industry. Choices like that are often misunderstood at first, then celebrated once the results take shape. And then there is the part that fans always hold their breath for, the personal. An announcement about life together, about love, about building something that exists beyond applause. Whether it's the official confirmation of a relationship that many sensed but never dared to declare, or a decision about marriage or family, the personal dimension is where fascination and respect must coexist. The discretion they've maintained gives any such revelation the force of truth rather than theater. What makes this moment ring so loudly is the element of surprise. Many of us thought we had a sense of where their stories were heading. Then the page turned. November 4th, 2025 feels like a flag planted at a summit, a public marker that something real has shifted. Maybe it's not that the change happened that day, but that it was chosen as the day to share it, to formalize it, to let it breathe in the open. The repercussions? They echo in layers. If it's a creative venture, it could redefine their slate for years, open international doors, and position them not just as stars but as architects. If it's a personal step, it could inspire admiration for choosing honesty over convenience, for trusting the audience enough to speak from the heart. And yes, a few will resist change, that's human. But the stories we revisit again and again are rarely the safe ones. They're the ones where someone dared. We've been tracking every credible lead, comparing notes, and weighing how this could unfold. Whatever the full picture turns out to be, it doesn't feel fleeting. It has the heft of a real decision. What comes next will depend on how Gökberk and Cemre shape the narrative, what they confirm, how transparent they choose to be, and which details they keep for themselves. Their teams, their colleagues, and the platforms they've worked with will all be part of the ripple, but at the center are two people making a call about their work, their lives, or both. You, our community, are never passive in moments like this. You have theories, you have hopes, and you have patience when it's deserved. Maybe you've seen hints in their recent interviews, caught a look at a festival, or noticed the way their schedules suddenly seemed to map onto each other. Maybe you felt this coming, or maybe the news hit you like thunder. Either way, your voice belongs in this conversation. Let's remember that this isn't only about headlines. It's about what success means beyond the surface. Sometimes success is shouting from billboards, sometimes it's speaking quietly to the person you trust most. Sometimes it's the bravery of going public, sometimes it's the courage of working silently until it's time. Whatever was put into motion and brought into the light on November 4th, 2025, it's bigger than a single post, because it compels a rethinking of what comes next. Imagine the immediate aftermath in the media, articles jockeying for angles, commentators parsing gestures and wording, fans taking up their corners to defend or dream. If the news is professional, it could spark a wave of future collaborations across borders, pulling in directors and platforms that have been waiting for a sign. If it's personal, it could shift the balance of their public lives, making them less mysterious but perhaps more completely themselves in the eyes of supporters who value authenticity over polish. There's a reason this day will be a reference point later. It's the moment their paths, already knotted by shared work and mutual respect, set a new direction. Maybe toward a studio of their own. Maybe toward a premiere that has no precedent. Maybe toward a home life they choose to acknowledge out loud. Or, if the twist is more complex, maybe toward a pause, one that refuels both souls for a future that returns them to us fuller, freer, and fiercer. In the coming days, watch how they speak. Do they publish a joint message? Do they sit for a thoughtful interview, the kind where the guard is down and the words feel chosen rather than rehearsed? Do we see hints of production meetings, location scouting, or visits to editing suites? Or do we glimpse something gentler, a ring, a quiet getaway, a photograph that needs no caption? However they proceed, the tone will tell us as much as the content. If you've been with Turkish series stars for a while, you know we care about the why as much as the what. The why is where artists reveal themselves. The why is where love announces itself without fireworks. The why is where transformation begins. Whether this shift places Gökberk Yıldırım and Cemre Arda behind the camera, beside each other in life, or both, the courage at the center of it deserves to be seen. Before we close, I want to turn to you. What do you make of this? Are you shocked, thrilled, torn, or all three at once? What do you hope to witness as this story continues, an audacious creative venture, a heartfelt personal milestone, or a beautifully balanced blend? Tell us below. Your thoughts don't just sit on a page, they shape how we cover these journeys, what we prioritize, and which questions we ask next. So, to sum up, November 4th, 2025 now belongs to the timeline of Gökberk and Cemre as a day when expectations shattered and a new chapter began. Whether professional, personal, or a convergence of both, it's the kind of development that reminds us why we watch, why we care, and why the stories of artists matter beyond the screen. We'll keep listening, keep digging with care, and keep honoring the difference between curiosity and intrusion. And as always, we'll be here to make sense of it with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. If this video helped you see the moment with more clarity or simply made you feel less alone in your surprise, show it some love. Share it with friends who follow their work, and if you haven't yet, subscribe and ring the bell so you're among the first to catch our next deep dive. This conversation is just starting. We'll see you in the next video with more updates, more reflection, and more of the stories that keep us all leaning in.